It is completely free to do crime here. In this area, prostitutes are everywhere. Police smuggle drugs. This is one of the most dangerous areas in the world. Life here is very difficult because you either have to become a prostitute or a criminal or a smuggler. This is a famous area in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Join us today as we want to travel to the Favela area in Brazil. This huge city you see is Rio de Janeiro, the second most populous city in Brazil. At first, when you enter the city, everything seems normal. But if you go a little more inside of the city and go near the foothills, the city will slowly change and you will reach a place that is unbelievable. Here we see a very big contrast where two different groups live in the same city and their lives are very different. Brazilians call this area Favela. It means a slum. As always, the majority of slum population is made up of poor people. But the worst Brazilian mafias, the most dangerous Brazilian criminals, and the most violent human smuggler all live and work in favelas. It is a very dangerous place, but we have to go inside because of this video. In the favela, everyone does whatever they want. Crooked and unprincipled buildings are built with all kinds of old materials without any rules. Now, why did the municipality of Rio de Janeiro allow it to grow like this? You should know that the Portuguese loved African slaves during their colonization. The number of slaves that entered from Brazil to Africa were 11 times more than the number of slaves that the British brought to America. The success of transporting slaves made Rio de Janeiro a city of slaves. The Portuguese brought these slaves for several centuries and mistreated them generation after generation and never considered them as citizens. Until we reach 1888. In this year, the freedom of slaves in America after 23 years affects the Portuguese as well, and they are forced to abolish slavery. But they still oppress them. Mistreatment of them continues. The slaves didn't have a proper place and they were not given a job to earn money. Basically, they were homeless. Therefore, they went to uninhabited foothills around Rio de Janeiro and start to build a shelter for themselves with any garbage. And this is the starting point of the favela. The officials of the city of Rio de Janeiro were also asleep and did not understand what a pus was growing next to them. The favela grew bigger year by year, and today 20% of the official population of Rio de Janeiro, that is, 1.5 million people, live in the favela. It can be said that it is the biggest slum in the world. At first, favela was a slum, but today it divided into thousands of parts and has thousands of names. Each part has its own government. It means that a person can do whatever he likes there with his people. Government, army, and police don't enter the favela. That's why favela is paradise. But for whom? For different criminals and smugglers. Guys, before I tell you more weird information about this strange city, please support us by like, comment, and subscribing. We need your support. Thanks a lot. If you have seen a movie of the most terrifying city in the world on the Dark Fact channel, you are familiar with Kowloon Walled City in Hong Kong. But we cannot compare favela with there, because more than 90% of favela population are ordinary people who are just poor. They are neither criminals nor drug addicts, but they have to live there. But only criminals and drug addicts lived in Kowloon Walled City. However, favela is a large and active city. It has electricity, water, and a store. But the electricity is drawn from different poles, which is not basic, and all the wiring may catch fire at any moment. In the same way, water came from illegal and stolen pipelines. That's why most of the people don't try to drink these waters. Do you think it is possible to walk in this favela now? Yes, if you are a journalist, you can easily go inside. Everyone welcomes you. just to prepare a report from there so that the world will understand what kind of situation they are living in. One of the most dangerous mafias operating in the favela is Comando Vermelho. Income of this mafia, which was formed in 1979, was from the sale of cocaine throughout Rio de Janeiro. One of the most corrupt places in the world is the Rio de Janeiro police, whose main income comes from these mafias. That's why if the police enter the favela, the ordinary residents of the favela are more afraid than feel safe, because they know that these policemen are looking for their interests, not that they have come to establish security. Rio de Janeiro police have a world record. He kills 1 out of every 23 people he arrests, and this has gotten the first place in the world. Some people say that the American police are violent, but they are not at all, because in America, 1 person is killed for every 37,000 arrests. It has happened many times that the Brazilian government has decided to make this condition better and attack here and arrest all the smugglers and settle the situation here. But it never succeeded, because most of the officials of the city of Rio de Janeiro are corrupt and receive salaries from the mafias and cooperate with them. Every tourist who enters Brazil is warned upon arrival that he should be very careful of thieves and leave his cell phone in his pocket on the street. If you use your mobile on the street, you may lose your life. If a tourist wants to enter Rio de Janeiro, they ask him to promise not to go near the favelas and tell them that if you go, you are responsible for your. By the way, there are also many adventurous tourists who go there to see the favela at all and go for a spin in the favela at their own risk. Well, write your opinion about favela. Do you like to travel there or not?